Someone told you that by now you should be over it, that you should be further along, that the fact that you still freeze in certain conversations, still can't sleep through the night, still flinch at a tone of voice, that means something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Trauma is lying to you about your growth. And today I'm going to name three specific lies it tells and what God says instead. Welcome to Elisha Space, a sanctuary for healing, growth, and for the kind of honest conversations that actually change things. I'm Elisha, your host, a counselor, an author, and someone who has sat in the same stuck places you have. If you've been listening for a while, I see you, and I'm glad that you're back. Today's episode is practical, clinical, but pastoral because I sit across from people every week in my counseling practice who are doing work. They're journaling, they're praying, they're showing up, and they still feel like they're not growing fast enough. And the shame of that, it's not coming from God. It's coming from trauma's operating system. So stay with me. We're going to name three lies, and for each one, I'll give you the clinical reframe, what's actually happening in your brain, and then the scripture that overrides it. Because this isn't visualization, this is physiology and theology. You should be further along by now, is the first lie. Maybe a family member said it, maybe a church leader implied it, maybe your own mind plays it on loop every morning. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening. In cognitive behavioral therapy, we call this telescopic thinking. You're looking at where you think you should be through a telescope and where you actually are through the wrong end. Everything far away looks huge and close, and everything right in front of you looks tiny and far away. So the three steps you took this week, they look like nothing. And the person you're comparing yourself to, they look like they're miles ahead. But here's what your nervous system knows that your conscious mind is ignoring. Comparison is not neutral for a trauma survivor. Comparison activates your threat detection system. Your amygdala reads, they're farther along, as you are in danger of being left behind. And when you're in danger, you cannot learn, you cannot grow, you can only survive. So the lie tells you you're behind. The biology tells you the comparison itself is shutting down the very growth you're measuring. Now, hear what God says. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time, not in your time, in its time. And Philippians 1 6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Notice, Paul doesn't say, we'll rush it to completion. He says, carry it on. That's a process word. That's a slow word. That's a, your pace is not my problem world. So let your nervous system hear that. God is not being behind schedule with your healing. You are not too late. The lie says further along. God says, I'm still working. Let's do something with this right now, wherever you are, driving, walking, sitting. I want you to place your hand on your chest, right over your sternum, not your belly, your chest. We're not doing deep breathing here. We're doing acknowledgement. Do you feel your heartbeat? That rhythm has kept you alive through every single thing you've survived. It didn't quit. It didn't fall behind. It kept its pace. Now say this internally or out loud, whichever your body allows. I am not behind. I am becoming. Don't rush it. Let it land. Say it again. I am not behind. I am becoming. That's not a mantra. That's a neurotheological reframe. You're telling your amygdala that the timeline threat is false, and you're anchoring that truth in the body that God made. You're still with me? Good. Because lie number two is the one that keeps people in the therapy chair for years without ever moving forward. And it sounds holy. Healing means you'll stop struggling. That is the second lie. And this one is insidious because it sounds like hope. It sounds like the finish line, but it's actually a setup for shame. Because if healing means no more struggle, then every time you struggle, every panic attack, every sleepless night, every moment you regress, you conclude that you're not healed, which means you're not growing, which means the whole thing was a failure. In clinical terms, this is all or nothing cognitive distortion, black and white thinking applied to your recovery. You're either healed or you're not. There's no middle ground. No healed and still human. No regulated most of the time and still vulnerable. Let me tell you what nervous system regulation actually looks like. It's not the absence of dysregulation. It's the speed of your return. A regulated nervous system still gets activated. It still triggers. The difference is it knows the way back. The path home is familiar now. That's what healing is, not the absence of the way, the knowledge that you can write it. Now, what does God say? 2 Corinthians 12:7, verse 9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Paul had a thorn, a persistent struggle, and God didn't remove it. God said, my grace meets you there. Not my grace removes the thing. My grace meets you in that thing. And Romans 5, verses 3 and 4. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. It's the chain. Suffering doesn't get removed, it gets redeemed. It becomes the raw material that builds something. Struggle isn't the opposite of healing. Struggle held in grace is the engine of healing. His peace is not dependent on your circumstances being resolved. It is a regulated nervous system in the presence of a safe God, even in the struggle, especially in the struggle. Let's practice this one too. Hand on chest again, same spot. This time, I want you to intentionally bring to mind one struggle that's been making you feel like you're not healing. Don't go deep, just touch the edge of it, just enough for your body to recognize it. Now, notice you're still here, your heart's still beating. You brought the struggle into awareness and you did not drown. That right there, that's regulation. That's the way, and you're writing it. Now breathe, not deep, just natural, and say, my struggle is not my failure, it is my material. Let your nervous system hear that. You are not running from it. My struggle is not my failure, it is my material. Knowledge isn't just power for trauma survivors, knowledge is safety. And now your body knows that struggle doesn't mean broken, it means building. Two lies down, one to go. And this last one, this is the ceiling lie, the one that tells you that your trauma has set a permanent limit on your life. Lie number three, your trauma defines your ceiling. You've probably heard some version of this, maybe from a well meaning person, maybe from your own inner critic. People like you don't. After what happened to you, you'll always struggle with. In clinical psychology, we call this overgeneralization, taking one data point and projecting it across your entire future. I had a panic attack at the store becomes I can never go to the store. I've frozen that conversation becomes I can never stand up for myself. But trauma generalizes itself into your identity. And here's what makes this like so effective. It has partial data. Trauma does affect development. It does reshape neural pathways. It does change how your nervous system responds to threat. That's not a lie. That's neurobiology. But the lie takes a chapter and calls it the whole book. It takes a pattern and calls it a prison. It takes affected and turns it into defined. And that distinction, that's everything. And this is where God speaks the loudest. Isaiah 43, verse 19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? God doesn't say, I am working within the old thing. He says, a new thing, not a patched up old thing, a new thing. Your trauma is not the ceiling God is working under, it is the raw material He is working with. In Jeremiah 29, verse 11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future, not a limited future, not a trauma adjusted future, a future, period. Your trauma told you it wrote the last chapter. God says He's the author, and He's not done writing. One last practice. Hand on chest, final time. This one is about identity, not regulation. I want you to notice the weight of your hand on your sternum. That pressure, that's real. That's the weight of everything you've been carrying. But notice your chest is still rising. Your lungs are still expanding. The weight is there, and you are breathing through it, under it, around it. Now say this, and I need you to hear every word. My trauma is not my history. It is not my ceiling. God is still writing. Again, let it land. My trauma is my history. It is not my ceiling. God is still writing. Father, I am grateful that you made these bodies, that you knit together the very nervous systems that we are learning to regulate. And I am grateful that you are not confined by what trauma has built, that you are the God of new things, that our ceilings are not ours to set. So here's what I want you to do this week, not as a to do list, as a practice. For the next 7 days, every time you hear one of these three lies, I should be further along. Healing means no more struggle. My trauma is my ceiling. I want you to do three things. One, name it out loud or internally. That's the lie. Not I'm failing, not this is hard. That's the lie. Two, place your hand on your chest. Do you know why now? You're telling your nervous system it's safe. Three, replace it, not with positivity, with truth. I am not behind, I am becoming. My struggle is my material. My trauma is my history. God is still writing. Write these on a card. Put them on your mirror. Let the truth be louder than the lie, even when the lie has more practice. If this episode helped you, share it. Text it to one person you know is struggling, someone who thinks they should be further along, someone who thinks struggling means failing, someone who thinks their trauma wrote the last chapter. Let them hear the truth. And if you want to go deeper, If you want a guided somatic practice that walks you through each of these reframes with 432 hertz frequencies and breath prayer, I've linked the Start Guide in the description. It's free, it's clinical, it's pastoral, it's for you. Until next time, you are not too much, you are not too far, and you are not alone.